And how do you think that your think tank, because it's a think tank, is trying to address this issue? And so far, can you tell us a bit more about the sort of the work you do in this think tank and how you address some of those issues and some of those risks and failures that you identified?
So it's got maybe three strands to it. So the first one is just to be a collective and say we care about this and we're going to give free time to this issue. That's kind of number one. Two is we share our work, and so the problem is big and complicated, so nothing is done in isolation, everything's shared. We all have our own projects. And thirdly, very, very importantly, to write guidelines. So the first thing three of us did, actually me, Miranda McLaren and Polina Pativa, both from Morrison Company, went to the RIBA, put a manifesto together.
You have to tell us what is the RBA.
The Royal Institute of British Architects. So it's and they provided us some funding and support to write guidelines. So we spent about a year and a half interviewing with charities, working specifically with New Horizon Youth Centre in DePaul, and saying what needs to exist to make this process easier for everybody. And there were two things, well, maybe three things. The first is to say there currently is pretty much or no policy governing the standards of accommodation that exists for homeless people. So lots of bad things happen where people can make a lot of money and people are treated very badly. So number one was to control that. And number two was to set parameters or guidelines, which we would make the process for developers very straightforward, and we would campaign for those guidelines to be part of policy so they could sit alongside some things such as affordable housing. So in the UK, when you build residential accommodation or commercial or anything making money, you have to, in most instances, provide something which gives back to the community, which, let's say, affordable housing. We were saying, well, affordable housing is bigger than just cheaper housing, and actually the homeless crisis and homeless people need to be included. So can we therefore modify this with our guidelines?